Welcome everybody to the very first edition of the Fatman and Robyn podcast. I am Marcus Stevens. I am represented by the Fatman in the title.
I guess I would be the Robyn of the title. But it's spelled with a Y. Because I'm fancy.
We different. We hit different.
Yeah.
So welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening in. So this podcast basically is going to be about whatever we want to speak about, whether it be in pop culture, current events, anything like that. We are a husband and wife duo, and we have a lot of similar interests in those things. So this is a good time now because of everything that's going on in the world. I've been home for 3 months now. It took me this long just to finally get this thing together. But basically, that's what we're going to be doing. So weekly or so, we're going to be trying to get out episodes of various topics. This first week, we're talking all about Bond, James Bond. So, Robyn, you're the one who I gave you a list of movies to watch or series, and you picked James Bond.
I did.
What was the reasoning behind that?
I'm a huge Sean Connery fan. Going into this, I had a lot of optimism. I didn't think it all the way through, seeing as how these movies...
24 movies. Ladies and gentlemen, I presented a lot of other series.
Like
six, what? Lord of the Rings, which is 6 movies, right? I mean, yes, it's probably the length.
Which might as well be 24 movies.
It's the length of Bond, all 24 Bond movies, but still, there was that. I presented Hellraiser, that's 10 movies, but I mean, it's a little lesser known. Jurassic Park, which is what, 5 movies?
Yeah, something like that.
So, of course, the first one you'll pick is the 24 movie epic. 26 if you count the unofficial movies, but we watched 25. We'll get into that. So it was Sean Connery really that did it for you. It's no reason.
Also, it wasn't just Sean Connery. It was the hype. Like, these movies have been out since our parents. Before our parents?
No, my mom was born when James Bond was...
What month did it come out, though?
October.
Okay, yeah. Your mom was born. But my mom wasn't born. Dad wasn't born. So our parents were infants or not born, and these movies have been going strong since then. And they have so much hype around them, and they have notable characters. The movies have been referenced and used to be referenced throughout, movie history, and I wanted to know. And when things like that are referenced all the time, I want to know the source. Right. Yeah, I want to know where did it come from first, who thought of it, things like that. So yeah, and I'm a huge Sean Connery fan.
She picked a series of 24 movies based on 6 movies that he's in.
Not just that, though, because I wanted to know for myself. I think it was Big Bang Theory who had like a debate on who's the best, 00, and stuff like that. I'm really interested in, but I couldn't say. Right. And automatically I wanted to be like, oh, Sean Connery, of course, but I couldn't say for sure because I've never seen them. And I love series. I love book series. I love movie series. So, and I figured this was a great way to, and now, because I'm pretty sure they're going to keep doing this until the end of time, Bond movies. So we're caught up. Yeah, you're welcome, is what I'm hearing.
That's what I actually want from you, Marcus.
Yeah, you should be thanking
me that I put you on to such a great series.
Exactly. And it was good.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
But I feel, originally, when you from the outside looking in, for myself personally, it was a very daunting task. Not only is it 24 different movies from different avenues, it was so crazy because it's like, oh, well, the first 2 Sean Connery movies are streaming on Xfinity. Oh, but you guys spend money from the third one to the 16th movie, and then the Bronzeman ones are all on Netflix. And then the Daniel Craig ones are on Xfinity again. It was hectic. Hectic to get all 24, plus it's the 25th movie we actually watched as well all together. But I will say, overall, it was worth the hype. So my next point was basically overall thoughts on the series, but I'll go first. But
before we get into that, I'm still not hearing a thank you.
I'll thank you for the Bronzeman and Craig ones. How about that? Daniel Craig ones. No.
For the whole experience.
I'll thank you for the whole experience. Okay. Because, again, I was about to say it, but originally going into this, I was not looking forward to it per se because James Bond, Dr. No came out in October 8th, 1962. y'all, that's almost 60 years, almost just about in 2 years. 60 years. So for me, born in the 90s, actually 90, you know, I never watched a lot of movies from that old time. Sure, I've seen like Godfather and Citizens Kane. That was in the 40s.
And you've seen Casablanca, right?
Casablanca and Psycho. And all those are high-class movies. So even still, I was kind of skeptic on it. But I will say, I'm very happy that we watched all the Bond movies. Now, I will say, for people, casual viewers, you can probably just skip out most of the early ones.
I wouldn't recommend it, though.
I'm saying, but you can see like various ones. Like you can watch them from like a Bond movie from each generation, and basically get the gist of it. Like watch Goldfinger, obviously, because that's the the archetype for the whole series.
Yeah,
watch Our Majesty's Secret Service to see how amazing a Bond ending can be, and how much they can build upon that. Watch one of the Roger Moore ones. Watch A View to a Kill because it's ridiculous, a ridiculous movie, but I love it so much. Watch GoldenEye because that's the best Brosnan one. And then you can just watch all the Daniel Craig ones because they're all interconnected. Unlike nothing Bond has ever before that.
And I really want to get into those Daniel Craig ones.
So
they were great.
But yeah, I got invested. So we watched the first 5. We'll go through the whole list and the names and everything in a minute. But the 6th movie was called On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and this is a movie that George Lazenby took over as Bond from Sean Connery. And this movie was the movie I was like, wow. From the original quip saying, "Oh, the other guy didn't go through that."
Right.
I was sold.
Breaking the fourth wall.
I'm a huge fan of that. And then the action sequences, and then the ending. Oh, we'll talk about the ending soon. But that was the spirit. I was like, okay, I'm invested in Bond. And then the Roger Moore ones just with the henchmen, and then like the different. There was no more emphasis on Spectre really after that. After Diamonds Are Forever. So for me, those 5 movies, excuse me. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, the next one after that, and the next one after that. Those are the movies that got me hooked.
Where's your list?
It's on our computer. Okay. I was supposed to print everything out, but it'll come to me. I had them all, but when you record and things happen. But yeah, overall, this was an A+ series for me.
A+?
A+ because it was like a slow crescendo.
Yeah.
Dr. No, I was like, okay.
I like Dr. No.
I did too, but I'm saying it was like for me, I was just like because I had the what's the word? I had like the stigma on the series because it was in '62, and then from Russia with Love, I was like, oh, this is getting better. And Goldfinger was a lot of hype, but it was good too. Thunderball's like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then it was like You Only Live Twice, which was a very racist movie. We'll get into that as well. These movies haven't aged well as well.
No, they have not. And that's the thing that I was like, oh, I had so much optimism going into this.
Yeah, then you watch
and then Sean Connery let me down in that area.
And you don't see really, and there's sexism in each Bond movie until we get to GoldenEye, until Judi Dench's M kind of like reams out.
I feel like they were trying to hit it on the nose with Judi Dench because she was just like, there were little things that she would say. Like, I know I sent that therapist to you, but to give him like a clean bill of health or something like that, but I guess you sexed that right out of her or something.
you get your Bond movement.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I said, it was just increasing crescendo. And then when you get, for me personally, when we get to the 90s Bond movies, I was like, all right, I'm all in. And they were good. And then you get to the Daniel Craig ones, and you see Casino Royale, and it's just like, this is a series to be reckoned with. Yeah. So for me, yeah, definitely A+ series. Great. Again, I don't think you have to watch every single Bond movie unless you're anal like us.
Yeah.
For the purpose of for knowledge and also just for the purpose of the podcast. But
I'm sorry, did you just call us anal?
Yeah, because I mean we watched them in order.
Of course.
Okay. See, that's
why would you not?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, 100% A+. Will recommend. Definitely Daniel Craig ones 100%. All 4 of them. Even though Quantum of Solace is a letdown in a slight way because
Casino Royale was so good.
So amazing. It's
like when you see Avengers and you see Avengers 2.
Yeah, it was
and it's like oh, but then you see Avengers 3 and it's like oh, we're back. Yeah.
And don't marry MCU. You get your own turn soon enough.
All right. Can I also? Oh crap! I wanted to say something too. Oh, I said because in 2012 or 13 I saw Skyfall, right? And I wasn't invested. So it didn't really hit home to me the greatness of this movie, the greatness of Bond, the greatness of everything that's been done before because I had no idea. So I was literally going in blind. I've never seen a Bond movie before. I've heard about it, but I didn't really know about it. And it's a different culture because it's all British stuff.
Right.
You know? So going into watching Skyfall back in 2012, 13, whenever I saw it for the first time, I fell asleep. And I was okay with that. So, but now, like, that I have all this history and background from watching Dr. No on, I was like, oh, this is why this movie grossed over $1 billion, was such a huge hit. And then they had Adele do the theme song. And I get it. I get the hype now. That's why I like to do stuff like that because, you know, and that's why I really wanted you to do it too, because now you appreciate it so much more.
100% more.
Okay, so again, thank you, wife.
Thank you, Robyn.
Okay.
For getting me into the Bond series.
Not a problem, husband.
So
I love you, and I want you to be brought up and Bond the correct way.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Again, it was all great. There were very limited low spots in the series. But personally, for me, I know for the critics, there was a lot that people didn't like, but for me, there was a lot of low spots.
Even for me, there were a couple of movies where I was just like, I could have did without that one.
It's okay.
I'm so glad I watched it, but
Right.
yeah, like I wouldn't be quick to go back and be like, all right, let's rewatch this one.
Let me rewatch Octopussy again.
Let me rewatch Moonraker again.
Whoa. Don't you disrespect Star Wars Bond, okay? Anyway.
Let's
But
move on.
So your overall thoughts, what do you think? I mean,
I guess that is my overall thoughts. I think to appreciate the Bond movies to come, I would highly recommend watching the movies that came before it, because that is what shaped the universe of Bond. So the Bond universe, you know, it was Sean Connery, who looked great. I'm a huge Sean Connery, huge Sean Connery fan, and I would just like to say that for my whole life, Sean Connery has been old, and I have never seen a movie where he's been young, and I get it. I get the hype. You know what? He is now a sex symbol. Yes, he's 90 years old. He is still a sex symbol. I bet he still look good.
My man, Sir Sean Connery.
Sir Sean Connery, put some respect on that man's name.
My man is a knight.
He is a knight. That is correct.
And he deserves every bit of that knighthood.
That is correct. All right.
But yeah, so now let's go into all 24, or we're going to do 25 Bond movies. We still have to watch Casino Royale, which is the 1967 spoof version, which is kind of like Austin Powers, predated before 30 years before it
kind of like a scary movie, kind of.
Yeah. So we'll watch that. So let's go. Sean Connery, of course, played the titular role of James Bond from 1962 all the way up until he took a break to 1967. So the first 5 movies he played was Dr. No, of course, released October 5th, 1962. From Russia with Love, released the next year, October 10th, 1963. Also quoted as the best James Bond movie ever, Goldfinger was released in the UK September 18th, 1964. The US got it December 22nd, the same year.
Goldfinger's the best one ever?
It's quoted as such.
Okay.
Yes. Thunderball had its Tokyo premiere in December 9th, 1965. The US got it first, December 21st, 1965. And then the UK got it about a week later, December 29th, 1965. You Only Live Twice was released in the United Kingdom and United States the same day, in June 13th, 1967. Of course, Sean Connery took a break for the 1969 version of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but he came back for Diamonds Are Forever. That was released in West Germany, December 14th, 1971, and in the U.S., December 17th, 1971. UK got it on the penultimate day of that year, December 30th, 1971. The Bond movies grossed a lot of money during those times. It looks like the highest rated or the highest paying Bond movie was Thunderball. It brought in $141.2 million in 1960 1965 and on.
Can you imagine how much money that would be today when they adjust for like inflation and stuff?
When they adjusted it for inflation for 2005 standards, it was $884 million.
Wow.
So it was a blockbuster, major blockbuster during that time. Critical reception for all those Bond movies was pretty high. Dr. No on Rotten Tomatoes has a 95. So does From Russia with Love. Goldfinger, of course, which is the archetype of the whole Bond series, is at a high 98. It is the highest rated Bond movie of all time in the whole series. Thunderball was at an 88, respectable 88. You Only Live Twice was at a 73. And then Diamonds Are Forever, unfortunately, is the lowest rated Sean Connery one at 66. And there's probably a lot of reasons why for that, besides the blaxploitation and just the ridiculously crazy plot of Diamonds Are Forever. How campy it is compared to other Bond movies. But what did you think of Sean Connery's 6 initial Bond movies? Of course, he also did another Bond movie in 83 called Never Say Never Again.
Right.
It's an unofficial Bond movie that wasn't produced by Eon Productions, so they don't count that. And it's a remake of Thunderball, which doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to do a remake of a movie, do a remake of a movie you haven't been in. Why would you retread the same steps? That's just how I feel.
You know what? They get my respect for that.
It was a waste of time anyway. If anything, that was my least favorite Bond movie, even though it's not unofficial. But so yeah, what do you think of Sean Connery? You can put Never Say Never Again if you like his 7 Bond movies. What did you think of his performance? Did you have a favorite one or any moments you want to speak about?
Yeah, I know that everyone loves Goldfinger, but I really like the first 2. And it's so funny because the third one is what sets Bond on his path of the gadgets and the cars and the women. Like he officially has his stigmas and stereotypes at that point. But I really like the first 2 movies better. Not to say that Goldfinger and everything else wasn't good. It's just that those 2 really resonated with me because it was the beginning of everything.
Right.
It was the beginning of our introduction to Bond and Sean Connery as Bond. My favorite.
So are you supposed to put it on the record right now, even though we're going to go in the next half hour or so? Is Sean Connery still your favorite James Bond?
If you asked me before Daniel Craig, I would have said yes, and I would have given excuses for him and everything, but I can't give excuses for the hitting the women and.
Oh yeah, the unconsensual sex.
Yeah.
He had with Miss Puppets galore.
Throwing himself on her and.
Yeah. Talk about aging well. You Only Live Twice was one of the James Bond movies in Japan. He masqueraded as a Japanese man. That was bad. That a lot of the Sean Connery movies have not aged well. Not at all. And
that's the thing. I'm sorry, but you know how they took down Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
They need to do that with these and just have like women come on before and just be. We know these movies haven't aged well, but we're not going to change them. We're not going to change anything. Like just have somebody explain them, and then have a black woman explain. That one with
Diamonds Are Forever, where there's a black woman in I guess it was like a circus area or something like that.
It was circus like kind of atmosphere,
and she turned into a gorilla,
an ape.
It was just really strange and out of place in this movie. Again, that's why Diamonds Are Forever is one of those movies, one of the Bond movies that people just don't know what's going on with it because it's so crazy.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it though. But yeah, also in You Only Live Twice. Which was the Bond in Japan. If you look in the credits, the Asian people are credited as Orientals.
Yeah.
The people they don't even have any names, just Orientals.
Yeah.
It's just like, yo, y'all.
That's what they did.
It was back in that day.
But you know what? I will say this. That was probably politically correct back then as well.
Yeah.
Like it's not politically correct now. But if you from taking my one political science class in college, the census. Because of the census, they were calling different races of people different things.
Right.
And that was to group all of the Asian people together. They would call them Orientals. So, in their defense, they were politically correct.
It's a little messed up.
It's still messed up because they didn't care to mention any of their names.
Nothing. It wasn't even worth, mentioning, which is sad.
And never mind the fact, like... it's not blackface, but what would you call it?
What, when
he was disguised as a Japanese man.
It's I'm sure there's a name for it. If y'all know, please let me know.
Yeah,
but there's a name for it, and people, it's not
it was
right.
so bad.
It was really bad.
They gave him a little bit of a tan.
Yes.
They fixed his hair like normally Bond has like gelled, slicked back hair. They washed out the gel and like combed, so he had bangs and like a bowl kind of cut.
It was very, very strange.
And then they put him in like a kimono with the shoes.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Yeah, that didn't age well, and I think speaking with just again looking at the rating, 73%. That's a big drop from Thunderballs from 88 to 73. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Probably didn't. But if they're doing like legacy reviews, it probably definitely did. But yeah, for me, Sean Connery, the Bond movies it set the precedence obviously for the series because you had the first 5 times that he played Bond. It's like this is what Bond is.
Yeah.
Dr. No, obviously for me, I wasn't a highly invested in it. Good movie, but I like Dr. No as a villain as well. From Russia with Love, for me, the best scene in Russia with Love was the ending, fighting in the train car, and close combats and like fights like that for me, very important for any movie. And that kind of set the precedence for a lot of other films. You know, he fought Tee with the henchman in Live and Let Die in a train car as well. Mr. Hanks, he fought on a train in Spectre. So it's a lot like
Batista.
Batista. They never name his name in the movie. I'm sorry.
Oh, they don't.
They never name him.
Oh, okay.
So I found out from Wikipedia.
I think he's still alive.
He's rumored to be in No Time to Die. So
so they're trying to
fingers crossed.
Like Jaws, because Jaws was in 2 movies and he's based off of Jaws.
Fingers crossed. Batista.
I see what they're doing.
But and it cannot be overstated how important Goldfinger is to the entire Bond series. You know, from the opening title sequence with the song and everything, from that to the gadgets to the car, the Aston Martin car, it sets such a precedent for the whole series, such a guideline that it's still followed today. You know, even though Daniel Craig they did a little spin on everything, they still show respect to those movies. So I can't knock them. You know, I like all the movies. I wasn't a big fan of Thunderball just because half the movie's underwater. It's just for me, it just didn't do it for me. But if that's my least favorite of his, but even still, it's still a great movie regardless. Yeah. Dinosaur Forever, as crazy and ridiculous as it was, but it was a continuation of the last movie, which we shall talk about now. During Sean Connery took a break from Bond. I guess he was tired of it, and it is a troubling role apparently from my research. But we had a new James Bond, an Australian James Bond, George Lazenby. He only played Bond one singular time, and that was in December 18th, 1969, when it was released in cinemas around the world. It looks like this Bond only made $64.6 million off of a $7 million budget. The critics gave it Rotten Tomatoes says it at 80% right now. So better than the last two, the last Sean Connery movie and the one coming in Diamonds Are Forever. So, which again, You Only Live Twice got 73, and Diamonds Are Forever 66. So, what do you think about On Her Majesty's Secret Service and George Lazenby's role?
I liked it. I too am a fan of breaking the fourth wall, so that was great. That was really cute.
Nice little nod.
Yeah. And one thing about these movies, you know, back in the day is, I guess even now today, but they just do things where you just look at it and go, what? Mm-hmm. Or you just look at it and go, no, like absolutely not. Like I refuse to believe that they put that in there and like, you know what I mean, and expect me to believe it. But so let me just make sure I got the right one in my head. Mm-hmm. This is the movie where they go. I don't know if it was where exactly it was, but there was a bunch of skiing and snow and mountains, and he goes up in the hill, where there's a bunch of women being kept for quote unquote research, but they're really trying to like hypnotize them and manipulate them. Yep. Okay. To use them and he sleeps with 2 women up there, and then he reschedules himself to sleep with 3 women, but then he gets caught. So if he didn't get caught, he would have slept with 3 women in one night. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then he goes back down to the bottom of the mountain, back to the woman who did he sleep with her back.
Tracy, his wife,
Yeah.
Wife, yeah.
Okay, so he did sleep with her before he went up to the mountain. Sleeps with 2 women, schedules to sleep with 3, comes back down the mountain, forgets those women at the top of the mountain, and then sleeps with her again, and then marries her, all within the span of a movie, which isn't that long in like time frame.
What's your point? It's Sean Connery's fault. Bond was a sex symbol. You said
that was my thing. That was my thing with the movie, where I was just like, this is awful. Not the movie, but the just morals. Like, yes, no morals. The lack of morals. I was just like, and it was funny how they did it. Because and this is how you know, like, there was a bunch of hornballs writing this script. The ladies come up to him and they're like throwing themselves at him, of course, because he's Bond. Right. And he's like, oh, 8 o'clock. Oh, I'll see you at 9 o'clock. I guess I'm seeing you at 10 o'clock. And it's like, and then he gets found out, right? They find out that he's a spy, and then he has to run away. So he runs back down the mountain, and then he runs. Who does he run into? The girl he slept with, and who's going to be his wife by the end of the movie. And I was just like, bunch of hornballs. Like, there was, like, a bunch of hornballs who probably never dated a woman, who they're probably the originators of is it Uncel? Unicel? Those guys who are, quote unquote, forcibly celibate.
I don't know anything about this.
Okay.
No.
We don't have time for that.
No, we'll talk about that. I guess that's a future episode, I guess.
What I'm saying is, I guess the guys who wrote the script, they felt like they were putting their fantasies on Bond. You know, like, oh, all these women are attracted to Bond, so he's got to sleep with all of them. He's got to pleasure them, you know? And it's like, that's his duty. It's his duty to please that booty, to quote the philosopher Samuel L. Jackson. But it was just bad. And as a woman, I was just like, this is awful. It's still a good movie. But that was awful. And the ending did it for me. Yeah, that's what brought me back. So that's it. It's a good movie. I just didn't like that.
I will say, watching On My Secret Service, being Bond in the 90s and seeing Bronzeman as my Bond for my generation, Lazenby looks the part of James Bond in my brain. Tall, he has dark hair. Mm-hmm. He's very, very handsome looking. That's Bond to me. So I was already set on. I was like, all right, he looks the part. Okay, can you play the part? Mm-hmm. And yes, it's a sex magnet.
Yeah, apparently.
He is a panty dropper. Apparently, it's very weird to see Bond sleep with 2 women in one night, and it probably didn't shower. So
exactly, and that's the thing.
It's a lot. That's a lot of things.
He didn't shower.
But he's Bond. But he back in those days, it was just in and out. It wasn't like no foreplay. You think Bond did foreplay?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, so
they don't know. Again, the people who wrote the script don't know the meaning of the word. They just smash. Next girl, smash. That's it. Smash.
Okay, don't.
Wham bam, thinky ma'am. That's all he did.
But of course, the overarching villain from, like, I believe the 4th Bond movie Thunderball to now was Blofeld, which is, the big bad James Bond villain.
Right.
And Blofeld got, his due respect in this movie from me, because he killed Bond's wife at the end.
Yeah.
Which was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And that's how you end a movie in 1969?
Yeah.
That's okay to end in like 2000 in the 2000s, because people expect darker endings.
Yeah.
But when you go to a cinema in that time of age, good guys gotta win. There's gotta be a happy ending in most movies, right? Yes, has to be. I can't think of a lot of movies. Well, again, I'm not as well versed in movies in those generations, but I can't. If I don't know how many movies ended on such a somber kind of like dismal note. It was just like, okay, Bond's wife is dead. Thanks for coming to the movie. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this experience.
What? But
have a good night.
Great movie. The scan sections, fantastic. The fights and everything. It was a fantastic Bond movie. hands down.
Can I also say the stunts in these movies?
Is this the movie where the boy jumped off the top of the cliff and they showed him going all the way down? Fantastic.
Was it? I think it was. Okay.
Fantastic.
I would just like to say, like, I'm just glad that cinema is where it is now, where we have, you know, computers and CGI, and we can use the likeness of somebody where we can, or you know, in the case of people like Tom Cruise or something like that, you can actually throw somebody, you know, out of a plane or off of a cliff or something like that, and it just looks real. Whereas these movies, it was a dummy, like a CPR dummy.
It's great though.
It's like, I understand that you're falling for a long time, but why is your arm suddenly double jointed?
Nobody looking at that, Robyn.
I was looking at it. I was like,
I'm telling you, people prefer that over the horrible CGI in Die Another Day.
That you automatically become double jointed and your arm is all the way behind your back. Yes. Like nothing.
You obviously know it's not a real person, so...
Like, I'm falling off this cliff. Let me dislocate my shoulder so my arm can go all the way like this.
Love it. I love it.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if this is the first of Bond scan ventures. I think Sean Connery did it before. I'm not 100% sure. When you watch 24 movies, everybody...
They kind of melt together.
They melt together. I definitely remember all Daniel Craig movies. I'll tell you that the heck now.
Yeah.
But Lansby did a great job. Unfortunately, he didn't get the callback. Unfortunately, because he came to the Bond premiere. He was rugged. Like, he had a full-on beard, crazy hair.
Really?
Everything that they did not want.
The opposite of Bond.
Exactly. So you come to the premieres that he thought he was going to be the next bad boy. He was, and again, I told you, he was very full of himself. So they just said, "Yeah, you're out. Hey, Connery, can you come back for another film?" And
we'll pay you a lot of money.
They paid him like $3 million at the time, plus like he gets profits from the movies. So I'm sure when I spent money to rent that movie, he probably got a percentage of that. So
the $4 you spent, he got like 60%.
He probably got for all the $4. You know, retro pay. But yeah, so that was in between. Connery's fifth and sixth movie. Of course, Connery came back for Diamonds Are Forever, and he put up the role for another 12 years until Never Say Never Again. But in the meantime, the next person to play Bond was Roger Moore, and Roger Moore had he had the most in a row, and the most of the series. 7 Bond movies in a row. That's a lot of movies, first of all. But he spanned Bond from 1973 to 1985. Here are the movies. The first movie was Live and Let Die, released June 27, 1973. It made $126.4 million worldwide on a $7 million budget. Success. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a score of 66%. The Man with the Golden Gun, December 19, 1974. It made $97.6 million worldwide on another $7 million budget. Rotten Tomatoes a little less friendly with that, 44%.
With the Man with the Golden Gun? Oh man,
surprising.
Yeah.
The Goldfinger of Roger Moore's Bond movies, The Spy Who Loved Me, premiered in London July 7th, 1977. It came out in the U.S. July 1977, or July 13th, 1977. Excuse me. Box office at the time his biggest box office was $185.4 million. On a $14 million budget. Wow. It is Roger Moore's highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes, which is at 79. Then we got probably my favorite of his, Moonraker. It came out in June 26, 1979. You want to know how successful it was? It was the highest grossing Bond movie until GoldenEye.
Really?
It held the record for 15 years.
Moonraker.
16 years. You know why. It made $210 million worldwide at a $34 million budget, and of course as we figured out, Moonraker was of course trying to cash in on the Star Wars craze.
Absolutely.
And guess what? It did. It freaking worked.
It worked.
Critics were less impressed. It has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes. The next movie for Mr. Roger Moore was For Your Eyes Only, June 24th, 1981. It would made $194 million worldwide off a $28 million budget. Rotten Tomatoes, 71%, so still respectable. Here's the stinkers, apparently, to Rotten Tomatoes. Octopussy, June 6th, 1983. It made $183.7 million worldwide, which is about $10 million less, off a budget of 27.5. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 41%. And which is regarded as the worst Bond movie of all time, which I don't understand why. I really enjoyed this movie. A View to a Kill. For the longest time, I thought it was A View to Kill. Don't know why.
A View to a Kill.
That's the name of the title. I thought it was A View to Kill.
Okay.
Which they both sound weird to me anyway. So this is the first Bond movie that had a premiere in the United States before. It had a San Francisco premiere in May 22nd, 1985, which obviously because Max Zorn gets tossed off the Golden Gate Bridge. So I guess if you're going to get tossed off our bridge, you got to premiere the movie in America first. And then it premiered in the United Kingdom on June 13th, 1985. It made $152.4 million off of a $30 million budget. The worst rated Bond movie in the whole series, the official series, at 36. Of course, Casino Royale, the 1967 version, has a rating of 26 on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, this is a lot of movies to talk about for Roger Moore. 7 straight movies, but I'll go first this time.
Okay.
I enjoyed Roger Moore's performances as Bond. They all felt a certain category in a certain way because they were all kind of formatic from Diamonds Are Forever. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the two Bond villains, henchmen. I forget their names, but
they were weird names. But I think they were lovers or something.
That's another weird thing about we didn't talk about Diamonds Forever. How crazy that movie was.
Yeah.
But always at the end of every Bond movie, you would kill the villain, and then the henchman would come for the last little hurrah. Right. These were the movies that kind of like 3 in a row. Really good henchmen that I feel overshadowed their villains, except for Live and Let Die because Mr. Big got shot and blew up in the air, which was the best Bond villain death ever. So good, but T.H. with his middle arm and Live and Let Die, to Nick Nack in the Golden Gun, and of course you got to put him in the top 3 Bond henchmen villains of all time. Period. Is Jaws. And Jaws stood the test of time of being in 2 Bond movies and plenty of Bond video games. Mm-hmm. He is, of course, one of the highest rated villains besides Blofeld and Oddjob from Goldfinger, which we didn't talk about. Oddjob's a fantastic henchman, but that's coming up. But all these movies for me, really, really, really fun to watch. When you get after Moonraker, for me, like I felt like For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy were 2 movies I could have done without. Mm-hmm. I was like, whatever. But I was solely on board with the craziness of A View to a Kill because, again, you had Christopher Walken as the villain of Max Zorn. He has a villain face. Yeah. It was perfect casting. Yes, the movie was a little crazy. I understand. Loved it.
I love Christopher Walken as a villain. And that came from Sleepy Hollow, which you've probably never seen. Have you seen that movie?
I don't think so. Johnny Depp?
It's Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci. But he was the Headless Horseman. So one time, and young Christopher Walken, no one talks about this. Young Christopher Walken?
Here you go.
Total fox.
Here you go.
I'm just saying. But anyway, and I only say that because now he just looks like the crazy guy. But back then,
he was something, huh? He
was something to look at. And I loved him and Grace Jones. I'm a fan of Grace Jones. Mm-hmm. I've always been a fan of Grace Jones ever since I saw Boomerang, and I haven't seen a lot of her movies, but I've followed her career, being a model and just like an activist and an awesome woman from Jamaica. But her as the henchman, I didn't even know that she was a part of that she was a Bond girl. She's a Bond girl.
She's a Bond girl.
She's technically a Bond girl.
She has sex with Bond.
She did have sex with Bond. Yeah. So, and I was a total fan, and she had a redemption moment, and she sacrificed herself to save the greater good. Right. So I'm totally on board with that. She's probably my favorite henchman, even though she wasn't a henchman all the way through. But she's definitely one of my favorite henchwomen. Henchperson with 2020. She's my second. She's my favorite second. There you go.
Okay, that's good. But yeah, Roger Moore movies are all great. All enjoyed them. Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker is such a great 1-2 combo of movies, and it obviously proves it because Jack Charles is in both of them. There's no surprise. So okay, Robyn, what do you think? Roger Moore movies. What do you think about them?
As a whole, I was kind of over Roger Moore very early as Bond. I do have to say that.
How early is early?
Ooh. It's something about like when they do a close up of his face and he do his eyes like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna sleep with this woman, or I guess she just wants me, or
Roger Moore did sleep with the most women in the Bond franchise, but of course he has 7 movies to do it. So.
Well, yeah, but and like the way that he would be sarcastic, I just didn't like his face when he would do something sarcastic.
Okay.
And I feel like that's kind of shallow of me to say. Not to say that he was a bad looking guy, just like the way, just that one face he did. I don't like the one face you do, sir. That's all.
Sir?
I don't like your face when you do that thing.
Can you change your face, please? Be a better Bond.
When he was being sarcastic, it just wasn't my favorite. And he was so cocky. Like, I understand that Bond is confident, but he was like egomaniac. Yeah, he was. Yeah, and that's where I feel like that look came from. Like, guess I gotta sleep with this woman for the betterment of my country.
It's all for...
bang, 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 smash, smash, smash.
Here we go. Smash, smash, smash.
Smash, smash, smash.
For the queen.
Long live the queen! Smash, smash, smash.
But yeah, I enjoyed the Roger Moore ones again. I can't keep speaking of how much I liked Moonraker again. It's funny because we just watched all the Star Wars movies at the beginning of the year or the end of last year. So
recently,
yeah, December 2019. What year is it? I forget. It's been such a long year.
It has.
But yeah, we watched most of the Star Wars because we still have to watch Solo in 2019 to December. So for me, I was like, oh, I'm all bored because I'm all into the sci-fi space opera stuff now. So give me more Moonraker. You know, of course it was. I'm not gonna lie, the plot was ridiculous. To make your own
as long as you know,
your own human race in space. It was crazy, but it had Jaws, and he kept coming for Roger Moore's Bond the whole movie
until the end.
And he got his own little send off, which because it's not has been confirmed if he lived or died. I guess we'll never know.
Yeah,
and Mr. Hanks
the actor has passed away too.
Yes, unfortunately, a lot of people who've been in these Bond movies.
Even Roger Moore is dead.
Roger Moore and there's another Bond that's dead.
It's not Connery.
Surprisingly. No offense, Mr. Connery. Sir Connery.
90 years old.
Yeah, good for him. But yeah, Roger Moore movies were I was invested in each one. Again, Octopussy, I was kind of like for Your Eyes Only, Octopussy, I was like whatever. Yeah. But I was back on for A View to a Kill because again, as you said, it was I think I more liked it because there were more actors that I knew, people I knew. Right. For me, so I was like, oh, Grace Jones, I know who you are. Christopher Walken, yes, could be on board. And of course, Dolph Lundgren had his first on-screen role here, which you again.
If you blink and you miss it,
it was great.
Which I did. I still don't know which one he was.
She said he was in the movie.
Where? I'm like, so where was he? Oh, that was him. Oh.
So for all that, made for a great movie, and he threw the man off of the top of the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. I don't see how you can get much better. Roger Moore did a great job. He was too old in A View to a Kill.
Oh my God, watching him move was hard.
There was a quote. I want to try to get it right. I think he said he knew he had to give up the role of Bond when he found out that the mother of the Bond girl who was in that movie was younger than him. Something like that along those lines. He was like, "Oh, maybe I probably should stop." So. But again, all his Bond movies were successful. Like it's, the only one that made under $100 million was The Man with the Golden Gun, which again I
like that movie.
I enjoyed the movie. The lasting scene with him the fight between him and Scaramanga at in that like funhouse mirror thing was fantastic. Such a great
assassin with the third nipple.
That's how you remember him.
Yes.
But I enjoyed that. Of course, you can't forget my man Nick Nat. So
I'm sorry. Did I tell you they did a movie based off of him?
You did say that something about.
Oh, that. I did with Peter Dinklage. So cute.
Who else is going to play him?
But there are people.
Peter Dinklage is the most well-known person, and I love Peter Dinklage for that. So after Roger Moore, we got another Bond. This time, we got an Irish Bond. Mr. Timothy Dalton played the titular character for only 2 movies. So we had The Living Daylights released on June 29th, 1987. It made $191 million worldwide off a $40 million budget. So that increased the sales. It was the biggest opening for Bond since For Your Eyes Only, released in 81. Critical reception was good for it, 72% on Rotten Tomatoes. People enjoyed a darker Bond, less humorous because, of course, the movies got so crazy.
Yeah.
It kind of jumped the shark a little bit in some terms. So the next movie was License to Kill, excuse me. Premiered in London June 13th, 1989. Had its United Kingdom and United States opening July 14th, 1989. $156.2 million worldwide off a $36 million budget. Significantly better, a little bit better than the last one. It got 77 on Rotten Tomatoes. So what you think of Mr. Timothy Dalton in the roles in the movies as a general?
I love Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
Is he my... Oh, I might have to redo my list.
Oh, here you go.
Because I didn't factor in Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, because nobody did. Because he's such a passing by Bond.
Does it say why he didn't come back for more Bond movies?
I don't know. Well, there's such a big gap between Bond, the License to Kill, and GoldenEye. It's like 6 years, which is like I think
the longest
gap. But from that time, again, they released them like bi-yearly.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm not 100% why he didn't come back. Maybe they just want to go a different direction.
Okay.
Maybe because Brosnan was born to play Bond.
Oh my God.
It was probably
according to you.
According to everybody.
Anyway, I really do like Timothy Dalton. Again, before these movies, Timothy Dalton's always been an older guy in everything that I've seen him in. But so it's nice to see him younger. And I feel like Timothy Dalton is one of those guys where his face hasn't changed. Maybe it's the butt chin and the eyes. I don't know. Something but I love Timothy Dalton. I really liked his movies. And it sucks they only had 2 movies. I did like him. I really did like him as Bond. And he was such a refresher after Moore. Because I feel like if I had to watch one more Roger Moore movie, I'd have to burn something.
Yeah, Roger Moore did get kind of played out after.
Yeah, it's especially after watching him shuffle his way.
I can see why people don't like A View to a Kill. A lot more than more than we talk about. I'm like, maybe it wasn't such a great movie.
You want me to believe that this 20-year-old is throwing herself at this 80-year-old?
Crap! I forgot that we talk about the woman that Bond didn't accept sexual favors from. I forget what movie it was in.
The figure skater. She was a figure skater.
Hold on, I'm looking up.
Oh crap.
For your eyes only.
Okay.
Which was Roger Moore's, right? 81.
Beady Doll.
So yes, I'm not condoning because I don't know how old she is in the film. I looked it up to try to find out how old she was.
Yeah, no one knows.
But Bond denied her.
He did.
Denied.
She was naked in his bed.
Denied sex. I'm sorry, Timothy Dalton. That's how unforgivable of a Bond you are. How unforgettable. Excuse me. Sorry, that was me. But I had to bring it up. I've had it written down. But he denied sex. So Bond is not all a villain as much as. Maybe he's just a pervert and not a sexual predator.
Oh.
Sean Connery was a sexual predator. I'm sorry, he was a sexual predator. Bond, but Roger Moore was like, no.
Like womanizers.
Yes, he was just It's still wrong, regardless. I'm just saying, what degree of wrong?
So this is his redeeming quality. He's a womanizer, but he has a limit,
but he has standards.
Limit. So the age thing.
I'm really joking. I'm really joking because I don't. I'm sorry. I'm really joking.
So it wasn't. It wasn't. They didn't say how old she was. They just kind of referenced that she was just really young.
She was young. I'm going to say because I'm a man. I'm going to say she was 18. Just because I don't want no problems with my man Roger Moore. I don't want him try to cancel him after he did.
Well, it's hard to say for sure because she looked like she was, in her mid-20s.
She looked young.
She looked young, but she didn't look that young.
She looked like she was portraying a young, like, high school maybe type of woman. So, regardless.
High school?
Maybe I don't know. Do you watch movies like from the 80s? Like,
yeah.
What's the movie? Halloween or...
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of our movies. They were...
Even though Halloween was 78, 79.
It's close. Whatever, forget it. Anyway, Timothy Dalton as Bond. He had some big shoes to fill from A Living Daylights because this is the first Bond in freaking 15 years or so after Roger Moore. So it's like, you have big shoes to fill. Yeah. And Timothy Dalton fell on his face hard in the first movie, in my opinion. The Living Daylights is so forgettable. Name the villain of Living Daylights. You can't. Name a Bond girl for Living Daylights. You can't.
Well, what happened in Living Daylights?
Exactly.
No, that's not fair. I don't remember all of them.
I remember License to Kill.
Is this the one where? No, this isn't the one with the tank, is it?
That's the real Bond. Yes.
Stop it. There was some, what were the
exactly my point. It's forgettable. He looked the part. He had dark hair.
That's it for you, dark hair.
He's Irish too, so I mean.
What does that mean?
Exactly, it's not Bond.
Oh, stop it.
Timothy Dalton.
What's his face is from? Wait a minute.
Sean Connery.
Yes, he's from Scotland, but isn't Bronzman Irish?
But he looks the part.
Shh, Marcus. Are you serious?
Anyway, Living Daylights, forgettable Bond movie, and I'm already gonna say it right now. Of the main series, it is my least favorite because this had nothing going for it. I cannot remember a darn thing. I remember that at the end, they arrested the general for whatever reason, and they were going to execute him. I remember it because it was ending, and I was so happy. License to Kill, 100% better than that movie. I remember because his Felix was getting married, right? Mm-hmm. And they killed his. See, that was much better, much darker. And what's the name was in that movie? The Henchman. Benicio
del Toro. So young. Oh, so cute.
Much better redemption for Bond for that right there, because Living Daylights was for me just not a horrible movie. I'm not saying it was like an F, or it was. I gave it a B, but still for me it was. but still for me, I was just like, oh, okay, I wasn't sold. But again, License to Kill, that's his best Bond movie. That's the one you should watch. Don't even regard Living Daylights. To
get the full effect,
watch The License to Kill. You don't have to watch that movie. Again, there's no continuity in Bond until Daniel Craig.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Dalton, you got the short end of the stick, I really believe, but you still my.
Would you say he's the worst?
Yeah, he's my least favorite.
Are you serious?
I'm not gonna say he's the worst Bond. I don't think anybody's literally the worst Bond. They all did the job of Bond.
Yeah.
But he's my least favorite. And that's saying something because George Lazenby only had one freaking movie, and I loved him much more. Lazenby, again, had more.
You like the ending a lot.
The ski scenes were great, too. The cold open.
Yeah, that was really good.
Great movie overall.
And I do remember that.
Like, see, I remember that movie so much more than Living Daylights. Wow, that was a great episode of the Fatman and Robyn podcast, but we have, unfortunately, run out of time.
So join us next week when we talk about the remaining Bond movies, and we start to begin to talk about our favorite parts of the series as a whole, like our favorite Bond actors.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fatman and Robyn podcast, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye.